The title of the talk today is Just When You Think, and then I just left ... afterwards. This applies to all of our world, all of what's going on in our world right now. At least it applies to my world that I live inside here. And that is that just when I think it can't be any funnier, it is. Just when I think it can't be any more outrageous, it becomes even more outrageous. I feel like we are living in some kind of TV reality show all the time, every day, that just becomes stranger and stranger and stranger. I see things happening in the world and no one's doing anything about it. I see things happening in the world that don't need to be fixed, that there are studies done and all sorts of things done that just seem like, what a waste. What a waste of time and effort and money and so forth when there's so many other things that could be reallocated. I think all of these things because I think, wouldn't the world be better if I were in charge? And each one of us think this, I think, to some degree. We look at life and we think, and we do this from a place where we don't have all the answers. We don't even know what all the questions are. We're doing this without all the puzzle pieces, and we do it in a very simplistic way. Just when you think that everything is going to settle down, something else springs up someplace else. It's as though life is a giant whack-a-mole game. And we're constantly trying to get all the things knocked down. Doesn't it? It's just amazing. Whack-a-mole. That's something that's come into our vernacular because of good old Chuck E. Cheese's. I think that's where that's the first time I ever played one was at one of those. Any of you ever been to Chuck E. Cheese's?
Exactly.
Boy, oh boy, what a, it's just this den of glee. There's just more than you can bear. It's amazing. So, just when you think that everything is going okay, something comes up. Just when you think that everything couldn't be more absurd, something else comes forward. Just when you think that nothing could possibly be worse in your life, grace appears and changes all that. For me, and I think for many of you, you are mature enough to have experienced this in your life. You work and you work and you work and you work to try to make something happen, or you worry and you worry and you worry about how it's going to turn out, and finally you reach that point where you just give up. And as soon as you do, it settles itself somehow. It's just an amazing thing. That's what grace is. It's like another shovel full of love being thrown out onto this world that we live in. Thrown out into us in a way that we're not really expecting. It just all happens that way. I know one example. This was a tragic time. I was going to ministerial school, and I found out from one of my daughters that the other daughter had gotten to the point that she was taking so many painkillers that she had gone over to somebody's house with her children, 2 of her little small children, and then gotten in the car and left the kids behind. And this is the time when not everybody had a cell phone, so nobody could reach her, and they had to wait till she got home and then bring the kids to her, or something happened. I don't know, but that was the story I got from one of my daughters. Told me this story about what had happened to my daughter. When I heard this story, I started fretting. I started worrying. And I was thinking, just when I think it can't get any worse, it's getting worse. It's just amazing. Because I'd seen some little signs of things in her life that I wasn't real happy about, but, you know, it's not my life. I couldn't do everything for her. She's an adult. When I heard this story, my first reaction was, I've got to do something. And so what I did was I started ruminating over it. Well, what can I do? What can I possibly do? I then decided I'm going to call an attorney, and I'm going to see what it takes for me to become custodian of these children of hers and force her into rehabilitation, because she was a single mom at the time, 2 small children. Well, I fretted and I worried about that, and I knew I don't have the funds to be able to hire an attorney. I'm going to ministerial school. I'm a church mouse. I really don't have any funds. Barely getting by. Worried and I fretted over this and just didn't know what to do. And suddenly it occurred to me, why don't I pray about this? Duh. So I went to the Wednesday night prayer service at Unity Village there. And the minister there, I stood up and wasn't really comfortable doing this because the way he did it, he wanted details. And I didn't want to give details. I wanted to just say, will you pray for my daughter about this? And so he said, sure. What's going on? Now this is strange to me because that's not the way I was taught that unity works. We don't need to know what the circumstance is. All we need to know is just to see her whole and free. When I started to tell him, well, and when I started to say her story, he stopped me. Whoa, wait a minute. No, that's not what I want to know. What's going on with you? Oh my. Just when I thought that I was understanding how this all works, and how prayer works, and how the divine works, somebody taught me something new. What's going on with you? Oh, I'm worried. That's what we're going to pray about. We're going to pray about your worry. Your daughter's healing is in the charge of God, not you. So he started the prayer and he prayed in the unity way, and I felt this powerful feeling come over me and a sense of calm and peace. And I came to the realization that just when I think I know what's going on in my life, I somehow have blinded myself and become unaware of what is mine to do. I think we all do that. We all get to a place in our life when we just think that something has to be done by me or something has to be done by somebody to make everything better. When in reality, what we need to do is center ourselves in the presence of God. Practice the presence. Center ourselves on peace. What is it we learn in unity? If you want peace, become peace. If you want love, become love. If you want truth, become truth. If you want knowledge, become the seeker of knowledge. Become that. Know in your knower what it is that you're truly seeking. That was a great awakening for me, to realize that prayer is not about somebody else and their situation. Prayer is about my consciousness. Oh, by the way, Let me tell you how the rest of that story unfolded. That might be helpful to you. I called the next day. I called my daughter who had told me this message about the one that I thought was in trouble. How's things going with her? I asked. She said, you know, the strangest thing. She seems to be okay now. She quit taking these pills. Everything seems to be all right. She's quit acting like that. She actually combs her hair now. She dresses properly. She seems to be all right. The next day. Now, I don't know when this particular act had happened, when she left her kids at some place and forgot that they even existed, and got in a car and some kind of stupor and drove off. I don't know. That had happened a couple of weeks before, so there had been a couple of weeks there when the change had occurred. But you see, the answer to the prayer that I wanted had already started. I had wanted, how can I fix her? God, tell me how I can fix her. And what I got was, God, show me how to fix myself. Show me what it is that I need to be in order for this to become a reality in her life and in my life, and for everything to be okay. Every one of us are faced with this decision at some point in our life, to some degree. It may be something simple. It may be, where did I put my keys? It may be, I wish my cell phone would turn up. It could be any number of things. It could be something very serious to us in our lives. But the answer is always the same. What's going on with you deep down inside? Because just when we think we know what we're thinking is when we need to think again and refocus our thinking, not on the situations of others or the outer, but on ourselves and how we live life and interpret all the signs that are there for us in the communication with Spirit. Once we get to that point again, and it's not something that we suddenly got that we didn't have before, it's just a remembrance. And what is remember? To remember, reconnect, put it all back together the way it's supposed to be. We allow ourselves to get scattered in our minds. We allow ourselves to, in our thinking, to forget the focus and forget the object, and we become so subjective in this that the object of it gets twisted around, and we think it's something in the outer that needs to be fixed. Our way shower, Jesus Christ, taught us not to judge by appearances, but to use righteous judgment. And that righteous judgment is right use of judgment. Turn within. So, okay, what is it about me that's out of line here that I could realign, and in doing so, come to peace again? Come to the place of power again. Come to the place where I am knowing that all is well and working out for the good. So just when you think it couldn't be any better, it can be. Just when you think it couldn't be any worse is the time that we go within once again and say, what is it about me that is making this judgment, this negative judgment? How do I get out of that space? Just when you think that your thinking is realigned and perfect, think a little deeper. Search a little deeper. Check your body out. Check your mind out. Check your soul body out. See if there's any misalignment. Anything that is hiding from you off in the recesses. Something that is being hidden from you by a veil that you have created in your own mind. Something that we call a defense mechanism. And drop that. Allow that anxiety to pass. And see, once again, how wonderful life can be how we aren't fully in charge. Now this is something that I didn't mean to get off into, but I want to for just a second before I end. Oftentimes people get into a place of fatalism when they get to thinking, well, if I'm not in charge and it's just all happening and it's just going to be what it is, then what's the use? To the ego mind, to the personality, that is probably a valid question. But beyond the ego mind and beyond the personality is that spiritual self. The spiritual self realizes it's not that I have let go of all conclusions and just allowed willy-nilly whatever to happen. It's that I have aligned myself with all good once again. And in doing so, and recreating my mind in this all goodness, I've gotten to the place now where I am whole. I am whole. It is holy. I'm fulfilled. I am here now. I am. Reaching that place, then whatever happens in the outer is just an appearance. And we're okay with it. We don't feel we need to jump in there and make any sort of changes whatsoever. We don't feel that we have to keep thinking it, overthinking it, thinking it. We do reach that place where we just surrender. The ego surrenders. The personality surrenders. The finite mind surrenders. Surrenders to what? To the infinite. And all possibilities all lead then to the good of all. And once we're in alignment with that, then our thinking is realigned and we're okay with life again. So that day, I learned so much about myself when he asked me, okay, tell me what's wrong. And I started to tell him about somebody else. We often do that. Ask yourself, okay, I feel out of alignment. What's wrong? And then think within. Just when you think you're getting it,